Sacramento, California has been making headlines for police brutality for quite some time. And more recently, a young man by the name of Stephon Clark was wrongfully shot and killed by police in the area. Now, they had mistook him for a burglary suspect, a car burglary suspect. They ran after him into his own backyard and then proceeded to fire bullets in his direction. An independent autopsy conducted at the family's request showed that Clark was shot 6 times in the back. So he was running away from the cops, but he was innocent, he was unarmed. He was not guilty of any type of crime or charged with any kind of crime.
He had a cell phone, isn't that what they said?
He had a cell phone, and cops believe that that cell phone was a gun. But again, an innocent human being who did not deserve to get shot. And people were wondering, well, is the district attorney going to bring charges against the cops who were involved in this case? Well, according to this incredible reporting by Sean King, if you see some of the financial influences that drive the district attorney in Sacramento, California, you'll understand why she wouldn't bring charges against these cops. Now, before we get to the details of this story, I want to show you the video of, what happened with Stephon Clark. This is difficult to watch, so I want to give you warning. But with that said, take a look.
Show me your gun! Show me your hands! Gun! Five, 7 shots fired, subject down.
So the district attorney is Marie Schubert. And if you thought the case involving Stephon Clark is despicable, wait till you hear of some of the other instances of police brutality where Marie Schubert did not bring any charges. Now, she has consistently, according to reporting by Sean King in The Intercept, consistently declined to file charges of any kind in instances of police shooting and killing black men in Sacramento. Okay, now let's take a look at the numbers. Who is funding her campaigns? According to an analysis by The Intercept, about 1/3 of the contributions she received across her 2 campaigns to be Sacramento County's district attorney, one of which is currently ongoing, came from law enforcement sources or those close to law enforcement. For the 3 campaigns she raised money for, Schubert has taken in well over $1 million in disclosed contributions. Of that money, about $420,000 came from law enforcement groups or people associated with law enforcement, including a $200,000 loan from a former official with the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department. A law enforcement association's political action committee also independently spent more than $50,000 on her first campaign for district attorney. That brings the total amount of law enforcement cash spent on Schubert's election efforts to around $470,000. So all of that would make one believe that there is a corrupting influence here. But what about the amount of money that was donated to her right after the shooting of Stephon Clark? Days after Clark was killed, she actually came under fire for receiving 2 campaign donations from local law enforcement sources. The California statewide Law Enforcement Association gave $10,000 to her reelection campaign. The Sacramento County Alliance of Law Enforcement made a $3,000 contribution of their own. Again, these contributions were made days following the shooting of Stephon Clark.
This is the problem with money in politics. This is the problem with a system so awash in money that it's unable to see clearly a situation that should represent the people's right to things being adjudicated, to things being investigated, to things being resolved in an equitable way. What you end up with is so much money in the system that it would cloud it, although this doesn't even appear cloudy. It really does look as though it's pay to play. I mean, as Anna says, look, leaning toward law enforcement is probably something that government does generally, but this appears to be bought and sold by law enforcement.
It's just heartbreaking because remember, these are the law enforcement officials who are supposed to protect us. And the district attorney is supposed to hold cops accountable for using excessive force. I mean, if they're in cahoots with police organizations and if there is this corrupting factor within the district attorney's office, there is absolutely no hope of real justice being served. So
yeah, that's the people's district attorney. I think Anna's making a very important point. The district attorney's office is your advocate, against some big institutions like the cops. The cops make mistakes. Doesn't mean that they went out to go shoot a guy dead, but still, when that happens, there has to be an independent investigation. And the independence would appear lost, as I say, in this wash of money.
And these types of shootings, based on the data and the evidence that we have, disproportionately impact minorities, disproportionately impact black men. But the reality is none of us are safe from this type of excessive force and brutality if we allow for this type of corruption to take place in our system of justice. We essentially end up having an injustice system. Now, again, the Stephon Clark story is gut-wrenching, but it's just one story in a history of injustices in Sacramento County. Let me give you another example. So 2 years before Clark was killed, police shot and killed a mentally ill homeless man named Joseph Mann. Police tried to run him over with their car. On a dash cam reporting, an officer could be heard saying, quote, "I'm going to hit him." His partner responded, "Okay, go for it." Now, the cops in this instance argued that Mann was charging at them. Mind you, they're in a police vehicle. So even if a mentally ill homeless man was charging at them, they're still in a car. How much of a threat could he possibly serve? But an investigation determined that he actually did not charge at them. His feet were stuck in position.
Yeah, they claimed that he was leaping at them.
Yes.
And so that's why his feet were very germane to the investigation, where they were.
Exactly. Now, the Sacramento News Review outlined several cases in which Schubert has been unwilling to take on police, noting that her office has, quote, prosecuted more activists for civil disobedience than she has officers involved in misconduct. And just in case it wasn't already abundantly clear, no charges were brought against the police officers who attempted to run over Joseph Mann. It's incredible. And you look at all these specific stories and all of these cases of brutality, and the district attorney did nothing. And why would she? A huge chunk of her funding comes from police organizations.
Yeah, again, you just feel as though she's been sold, and sold to law enforcement in this case. And Anna makes an important point about, like all of us out there, anything could happen. In the fever and adrenaline associated with a lot of law enforcement situations, not all law enforcement people are created equal. And so you end up with the highly trained law enforcement officers who we ask to do a lot, who de-escalate situations, who work on the notion that they should have restraint and work to de-escalate. And then you have others who get caught up in that adrenaline and in that fever, and bad things happen. In any case, in the case of error, in the case of legitimate misdeeds or aggression of the sort that Anna just talked about with the cops taking out the mentally ill homeless man, you need an independent investigation, and that's what you're counting on from the people's attorney. And in this case, the people's attorney's office appears to have been sold.
Again, and I've made this point before, but I really want to emphasize it and drive it home. A lot of people can't understand why someone who's innocent, like Stephon Clark, would run away from cops as they approach him. Well, if all of these shootings keep happening and innocent people keep getting shot and killed, and there's no justice following that, wouldn't you be scared too? Would you be trusting of the cops? Wouldn't you want to run away? I mean, it's a life or death situation in a lot of cases. Unfortunately, he lost his life. And again, he didn't do anything wrong. He wasn't the burglary suspect.
Yeah, look, you hear about the conversations that black families are having with their kids about how to talk to a police officer, what to do if you're stopped, how to comport yourself. And I think if you're not a person of color, it's hard to relate to that. I mean, you think, God, I mean, you understand it, but really thinking that it could be a life-death situation every time you have an interaction with law enforcement, that's something that those of us who are not people of color really don't have a window on. So what Anna's talking about is, I think it's a real scare that families in this country are facing in communities that you'd think wouldn't be problems. I mean, I don't understand why Sacramento has this issue.
It's pretty devastating. And I also want to emphasize that it seems like in various situations, the person who's dealing with the cops can't win, because you think of Philando Castile and how he did comply and cooperate with the cop in that situation.
He was deferential even.
Exactly, and he still got shot. And his girlfriend's in the car with him, also complying, listening to the cop, remaining calm even after her boyfriend was shot and killed right in front of her, and they still put her in handcuffs after that. So you have to put yourself in other people's shoes and understand the gravity of this situation. You have to understand the gravity of the corruption and how it leads to injustice. And if you want another specific example of this district attorney refusing to do her job because she's bought by police interests in this case, apparently there was a California state auditor who demanded that she file misdemeanor charges against the sheriff, who apparently this district attorney is in cahoots with. Now, the sheriff is Scott Jones. Scott Jones is a pretty shady individual. And according to the report, let's go to graphic 13. On December 19th of 2017, California State Auditor Elaine Howell sent a letter to Schubert urging her to prosecute Jones, that's the sheriff. Jones, according to the auditor, who serves in a watchdog capacity, had committed a misdemeanor offense by deliberately releasing information that he was specifically told he could not release, despite multiple verbal and written warnings. Well, guess what? Jones did not have to deal with any charges. A PAC called Friends of Sheriff Scott Jones had donated to her campaigns. And,
every story has a footnote like that.
Every story. And by the way, in that case, she should have recused herself, because she obviously has a very cozy relationship with the sheriff, financially speaking. I don't mean anything else. And instead of recusing herself, Schubert announced that she would be ignoring the auditor's request to file charges against Jones.
Well, there should be recusal on any number of cases. I mean, it appears, just for the reasons that you're saying, I mean, all this money is pouring into a re-election campaign. She should be recusing herself left and right. I mean, she should just stay in her office and, we'll call her when we need her. Instead, she's the last word on whether these cases go to prosecution.
I want people in Sacramento to keep in mind that she has an elected position. And I know that it's hard to keep track of everything that's going on, all the different candidates, but oftentimes incumbents don't deal with challenges. And we need the voters to rise up and elect her out of this position. She is corrupt, she has no interest in justice, and she has no reason to be in that position.
If you like this video, bless your heart. We got a lot more where that came from. We do a full show every day, Monday through Friday. Come enjoy it ad-free by becoming a member, tytnetwork.com/join.